First day of school, every year, the teacher reads the attendance list and gets to your name. They pause. You know the pause. You've been dreading it since August. They try. They get it wrong. The class doesn't laugh out loud. They just kind of shift. You correct the teacher. They try again. Still wrong. Closer, but wrong. You smile. You say it's fine. By October, you stop correcting. By middle school, you're going by something easier. Something that doesn't make anyone pause. Something your friends can text without autocorrect, changing it to something else entirely. You told yourself it was just practical. But somewhere in that decision, something small got buried. Let me take you back. It's 1997, maybe 1998. You're 8 years old and America is a very specific place. Your friends have N64, GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros. Saturday mornings, controllers, nobody's parents bothering them until noon. You have tabla lessons at 9 a.m. Your friends are watching TRL on MTV. Carson Daly's counting down the Backstreet Boys. Everyone in school knows every word. You know every word too. You learned them on the bus so you'd have something to talk about. But at home, after dinner, the TV switches to ZTV. Bollywood films from the 80s. Your dad laughing at jokes you can't quite translate. Your mom mouthing along to songs she's known since she was your age. You exist in both worlds. You're fluent in both, but you can't explain one to the other. Everyone at school has a Lunchables phase. Bologna and crackers and the tiny Reese's cup. You have a Tupperware container. Dal and rice, maybe some sabzi, packed with more love than you understood at the time. You learn to eat fast. Sometimes you throw it away before anyone sees. You tell your mom the school gives you lunch now. She's proud you're fitting in. You never tell her what fitting in actually cost. Your AIM screen name is something you'd die before showing to your American friends. Your parents made you create it in front of them. It has your full name in it. The family computer is in the living room. Always has been. Privacy is not really a concept your parents imported. Halloween is the same week as Diwali every few years. You do both. You explain neither. At school, you're a Power Ranger or a ninja or whatever everyone else is doing. You go door to door and collect candy and laugh, and it's genuinely fun. Then you come home and your grandmother has set up the diyas, small oil lamps along every windowsill and the front porch, and your mom is making something sweet in the kitchen, and your dad is dressed in new clothes because that's what you do on Diwali. You wear something new. And for one night, you are completely, fully in both worlds at the same time. Those nights are rare. Mostly you are always slightly in one and slightly not in the other. Here is something nobody told you explicitly, but that you understood completely by age 7. You were going to be a doctor or an engineer. This was not a conversation. It was the weather. It was just the condition of the world you were born into. Your white friends could get B's. Their parents would say, try harder next time and move on. You got a B on a math test in 4th grade and your dad sat with you at the kitchen table for 2 hours going over every problem, not angry. Just, this is not acceptable. This is not who we are. Every A was expected. Every A+ was celebrated for exactly one dinner and then became the new baseline. The aunties at every Indian community event And there were always Indian community events every other weekend, someone's house, someone's puja, someone's kid's birthday. The aunties asked about your grades the way your American friends' parents asked about soccer practice, casually, as small talk. Straight A's again? Good, good. And if not straight A's, a look. Just a look. You learned to dread that look more than anything a teacher could say to you. You got into a good college. Your parents cried. Your extended family group chat lit up. Your dad called his brother in India. You stood there feeling proud and also somehow hollow, like you'd finished a race you never agreed to run. You didn't know how to say that out loud. You didn't say it. Someone called you Gandhi in 6th grade, not as a compliment. You smiled like it was funny. You'd gotten so good at that, converting something painful into a smile, a shrug, a joke before anyone else could make the joke first. If you laughed at it, it couldn't hurt you. That's what you told yourself. You got called Gandhi, Apu. Do you speak Indian? Is your family from a tribe? Do you guys ride elephants? Why does your food smell like that? Every single time you smiled. Every single time you moved on. Every single time something small got added to a pile you didn't know you were building. Your house smelled like incense and cardamom and something else you couldn't name. Just home, just your home. You noticed it for the first time when a friend from school came over in 5th grade. He didn't say anything and he didn't have to. You saw his face do the thing faces do when they encounter something unfamiliar. That weekend you asked your mom to stop burning incense. She looked confused. She asked why. You said it made your eyes water. She stopped. She bought an air freshener, the fake pine one, the one that smells like nothing, and put it in the hallway. She was trying to make you comfortable. You never told her what you actually did. By high school, you had the performance mastered. Indian at home, American the moment you walked out the front door. Different posture, different references, different register of your own voice. You knew which jokes landed where. You knew what to mention and what to leave out. At home, yes to the Hindi phrases, yes to taking your shoes off, yes to the long phone calls with relatives in India, yes to the food, yes to the pujas. Outside, none of that exists. You are a regular American kid who happens to have a complicated last name. You switched so smoothly, so completely that you forgot you were switching. And that was the problem. Here is the thing nobody talks about. You also didn't fully belong at the Indian events. The kids who came straight from India, the ones your parents called fobs, fresh off the boat. Not as an insult exactly, just a category. They looked at you differently. You spoke Hindi with an accent. You didn't know the right Bollywood references. You dressed like an American. You were Indian enough for your white friends to see you as the Indian kid, and American enough for the Indian kids to see you as the American one. You were the permanent in between. You got really good at being the bridge. Moving between worlds, translating, adapting. People would say you're so good with everyone and mean it as a compliment. And it was a skill. It genuinely was. But bridges don't live anywhere. A bridge is a thing you cross. It is not a place you stay. There is a warrior in the Bhagavad Gita who knows exactly what this feels like. Arjuna stands on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. On one side, his family, his teachers, people who raised him, people who loved him. On the other side, the side he's supposed to fight for, he belongs to both. His name appears in multiple forms throughout the Gita. He is called Arjuna, the pure one. He's called Partha, son of Pritha, his mother's name. He's called the left-handed archer. He's called the winner of wealth. 18 different names for the same person, each one capturing a different role, a different relationship, a different world he belongs to. And standing there between two armies, holding all those names at once, he collapses. He tells Krishna, I don't know who I am right now. I don't know which part of me is real. I don't know which version of myself to bring into this moment. His hands shake. He drops his bow. The greatest warrior of his age, on the most important day of his life, completely falls apart. This is not a military crisis. This is an identity crisis, written down 5,000 years ago, for the kid who went by a different name at school. Here is what Krishna tells him, and it is not what you'd expect. He doesn't say pick a side. He doesn't say be the warrior and forget the sun. He doesn't say choose India or choose America, choose your family or choose yourself. Choose the version that's easier or the version that's true. He says, you are asking the wrong question. The question, who am I? When you ask it the way Arjuna asks it, when you ask it looking at the two armies, looking at the two worlds, looking at the two versions of yourself, you're asking it from the outside in. You're trying to figure out which role fits, which identity holds, which label is the real one. Krishna says, none of them are the real one. The roles are real. The relationships are real. The cultures are real. But they are not you. You, the Atman, the self underneath the self, existed before the first day of school, before the attendance list, before the lunch box, before you learned to smile at things that weren't funny, before your name got shortened to something easier, before you asked your mom to stop burning incense. Krishna calls it the witness, the part of you that watched all of it happen, the part of you that watched yourself perform American and watched yourself perform Indian and knew somewhere deep and quiet that neither one was the full picture. That part was never confused. It watched you code switch for 15 years and never lost track of itself. It was never Gandhi boy. It was never the Indian kid. It was never the accent or the last name or the lunchbox. Those were costumes, useful costumes. They kept you safe. They helped you survive. They got you through school and into college and out into the world. But you wore them for so long you forgot they were costumes. The Atman doesn't need a country to validate it. It doesn't need a culture to complete it. It doesn't need to be Indian enough or American enough or any enough. It already is. It was always already home, always. Now, I'm not saying any of this was easy or that the pain wasn't real. The lunchbox was real. Gandhi boy was real. The tabla lessons while everyone else played N64 were real. The hollow feeling after getting into a good college was real. The exhaustion of performing yourself every day, that was real, and it accumulated and it cost something. What I'm saying is this. You've been trying to solve an identity problem from the outside in. Find the right group. Fit the right mold. Be Indian enough for this room and American enough for that one. Figure out which version of yourself to lead with. The Gita flips it completely. When you know who you are at the level of the Atman, the identity question doesn't disappear. The two worlds don't collapse into one. You still have the complicated last name. You still take your shoes off at the door. You still know every Backstreet Boys lyric, but the desperation goes away. You can walk into a room full of people who don't look like you and not feel erased. You can go to an Indian community event and not feel like a fraud. You can say your actual name, the full version, the one your grandmother uses, without flinching, not because you finally figured out which box to tick, but because you stopped needing a box. The kid who went by a different name at school, the kid who ate fast and threw away the Tupperware, the kid who smiled at things that weren't funny, that kid didn't lose himself. He learned two languages, two ways of seeing, two ways of moving through a room, two complete worlds, one that smells like incense and cardamom, one that smells like carpet and fresh air, and he holds both of them simultaneously without collapsing. Most people only get one world. You got two. The Gita doesn't ask you to pick. It asks you to find the part of you that was whole before you ever had to choose. You've been carrying that part your whole life. You just called it survival.